Chapter 4. I feel growing up in Mumbai is an advantage, as we grow up speaking so many languages that when you go abroad, it becomes easier to learn new languages. By Zubin Mehta. Mumbai, my mentor. I came to Mumbai with the face of a village boy. What a funny coincidence. My nursery and KG years had passed in a posh English medium school in a city like Patiala. Suddenly, I was shifted to a Zilla Parishad Marathi medium school in a small village like Shirkhed. Destiny had swung me to two extreme ends in no time. Of course, I don't have any regrets and complaints about that. Although I didn't get the opportunity to continue my education in an English medium school, I don't think I missed something. On the contrary, I could not have learned more than what I learned in a Marathi medium school. New school and new friends. I admitted me to a municipality school from Kalina for 5th standard. It being a metropolitan school, the students were from middle-class families and speaking chaste urban Marathi. Since my primary school years were spent in a village school, my style of speaking Marathi was coarse and unrefined, which my fellow students would laugh at. It started from the roll call. Whenever our class teacher called the name of each student to mark the attendance, he would reply as yes or I am. Only my reply would be Hazir sir or Hajir madam, as was the custom in my previous school. This was a subject of mockery for other students. Initially, I would feel ashamed, but in a couple of months, I imbibed the new style and settled into my place in the class. Although the fellow students would make fun of my language, our class teacher was a considerate lady. She was fond of my innocent face and naive behavior. I had spoken to her about my rural background, hence, she knew my difficulties in adjusting to a new atmosphere. She herself would overlook my language mistakes and reprimand the class not to tease me about it. Even so, my phobia of public speaking never vanished completely. I overcame it many years later. My reunion with the family and especially meeting my younger brother Sanjay turned my previous loneliness into a jovial mood. As Sanjay was only a couple of years younger than me, we would play together and also fool around a lot. Bullying, skirmishes and fights became a usual practice. But we would take great care to conceal them from Baba. He was hot-tempered and being a military man would not tolerate our unruly behavior. Fearing his slaps, we would settle our quarrels and go to bed early at night well before he returned home. There was another reason to go early to bed. Those were the days of blackouts. The 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War was over. But as a precautionary measure, random blackouts were practiced in Mumbai at night. Since military campuses might be the first target of air attacks, our quarters responded to the blackouts more stringently. Whenever the alarm rang and electricity supply went out, we would fear the dark and rush to bed to take solace in the comforting blankets. I would seldom mediate our clashes. She used to advise us to solve our problems amicably. Perhaps her words were to come true in the future. Even after hiding our fights from Baba, one day the truth came out. We brothers were fighting as usual. In an attempt to overpower Sanjay, I dunked his face in a nearby pot full of milk. Unfortunately, the milk was hot and I was not aware of it. Sanjay began screaming. His face burned. Hearing the noise, I rushed in and immediately wiped Sanjay's face with cold water. In those days, for minor burn injuries, ink would be applied to soothe the skin. We did the same and Sanjay's face took on a dark blue hue. When Baba returned home and understood what had happened, he picked up a rubber tube from nearby and whacked my back so hard that I didn't dare to do such mischief again. Mumbai is a dynamic city, and anyone who comes here adapts to the momentum of the city life quickly. I was no exception to it. Being a cosmopolitan city, Mumbai speaks many languages, and thus the first silent change that took place in my personality was I became automatically multilingual. Sanjay and I began speaking in Hindi. Since Hindi is widely spoken in Vidarbha as well as in Mumbai, we became fluent in it very quickly. Besides, in our MES quarters, a number of neighboring families were from different parts of India. I soon got accustomed to their languages, cultures, etiquettes, and foods. It helped me widen my frame of mind, and a spirit of nationality crept in. This attitude of adaptability helped me in the future to become a global citizen. Mumbai in 1970 was far different than today's. It was a charming capital city, a busy metro, but not overcrowded and suffocating. The cozy chawls were yet to be transformed into multi-storied skyscrapers. The air and minds of people were equally unpolluted. There were a lot of open spaces to be used as playgrounds. Our Kalina suburb was more like a village. It was famous for the dense forest-like campus of Mumbai Vidyapeeth, Bombay University, and especially for its natural beauty, greenery, and serenity. The portraits of Shirkhed and Kalina were amazingly alike. I took great pleasure in a lot of playing, tree climbing, and taking meandering strolls in both places. The tranquility enjoyed there reminds me of the first few lines of a poem by Emily Dickinson. I often passed the village when going home from school and wondered what they did there and why it was so still. The first exercise of salesmanship. There were many tamarind trees and also some bear trees, which we call Indian jujube, in our MES campus. I would easily climb the tree and bring home luscious green tamarinds and ripe bears. I had acquired this skill in Shirkhed. I would keep some of them to make a deliciously spicy thecha and ask me to distribute the rest to our neighbors. But even after distributing them to all the residents, a large share would still remain in hand, and I would be faced with the problem of their further arrangements. One day, the idea of selling the tamarinds clicked in my mind, and I did my first exercise of salesmanship. I stood on the street and began to sell the tamarinds and bears to the passers-by. The idea worked marvelously, and within a couple of hours, I sold all the tamarinds I had. Soon it became a regular practice. My customers were mainly housewives and school-going girls. We all know how tempting it is to bite into the green tamarind seasoned with salt and chili powder. My business was going well, and I would honestly hand over the entire income to I. Baba was not aware of my business. He would go to work early in the morning and return late at night. That was a relief for me. Otherwise, had he known my hawker-style business, he would surely have beaten me and ordered me to first concentrate on studies. But one day, this business came to an end abruptly. That day, I had earned maximum income and was eager to watch I's happy face. Reaching home, I handed over the entire amount to her as usual. I was expecting an energetic appreciation from her, but to my surprise, she didn't show any reaction. On the contrary, she said in a firm and grim voice, "Dada, I think you should discontinue this activity here. Previously, I encouraged this to make you understand the value of hard work. Now I'm cautioning you. This is a slippery moment. Beware from the lure of the money, or else you will lose the focus from your study." I sincerely obeyed I. I never beat me. She strongly believed in making behavioral changes through conviction rather than scoldings or punishments. Since I was the elder child, She would often preach to me, Dada, if you foster impish behavior within, Sanjay will copy you. You have a greater responsibility to set an example of good conduct. Ai's words of wisdom led me to walk on a virtuous path in life. I always remained Ai's obedient son. She was a Spartan at times, but equally tender and affectionate. Once I was making ripe berries fall while standing under the tree. Since the tree was thorny, I was pelting the berries with stones without climbing the tree. Unfortunately, one of the stones bounced back and hit me hard on the forehead. Its sharp edge pierced the skin, and soon blood was flowing from the wound. I ran home crying. I got scared when she saw my face covered with blood. She called out for Baba and demanded to get me to the doctor immediately. The doctor sewed the wound with 4 stitches. I was frightened with the notion of Ai slapping me for the mischief, but it was my misconception. As soon as I entered the house, Ai took me in her arms. Tears began flowing from her eyes. She affectionately cuddled me and inquired, Dada, how did it happen? Are you all right? Is it still paining severely? When she understood what had happened, she smiled and sympathetically reprimanded me. Dada, what kind of fool are you? What else was going to happen when you throw a stone straight above your head? First accident in my life. When I was 6 years old, Baba took me and Sanjay with him to a nearby fabrication workshop. He wanted to drill a hole on a metal strip. Since the drill-making worker was absent, Baba himself decided to do the job. He was skilled in such mechanical jobs. He asked me to hold the drill machine tight and began to drill the hole. That drill machine had a conveyor belt. At one moment, something distracted my attention and my finger got pulled into the machine with the belt. I screamed loudly as my finger got crushed in the accident. Baba immediately shut the machine off and got my palm out of the machine gently. He was shocked and told Sanjay to call Ai immediately. Sanjay ran so fast that although our home was at a half-an-hour walking distance, he returned with Ai in 10 minutes. I was shown to a nearby doctor who advised an immediate surgery, but expressed his opinion that the outcome might be futile. The doctor somehow fixed my finger in its place. Everyone thought that the finger would be lost forever. But surprisingly, after some days, the bones knit together and the finger started working as before. I can't tell how the miracle happened. Only God knows. Baba got his second job. After retirement, Baba was in search of a new job. He once read an advertisement in the newspaper for the post of a storekeeper in Air India. He wrote an application. Being a defense person, he had a habit of doing everything neatly and thoroughly. Besides, his English was also impeccable. He drafted his application so meticulously that he was selected from 2,000 other candidates. Only 2 candidates were selected in the final interview, and Baba was one of them, which was a singularly huge honor for him and also a matter of pride for our family. Our household was lit with excitement and joy at Baba's new job. Until then, we lived frugally, but now that Baba's salary added to his meager pension, we all heaved a sigh of relief. Baba liberally allowed Ai to make some expenditure for our wants. Of course, she was never an extravagant person to spend the saved money on luxury items. Because of Ai's prudence, our educational journey passed without any financial hurdle. Towards technical education. I was never a bright student throughout my school days. I would get minimum passing marks in every subject, and this continued year after year. I did not have any admirable skill. I didn't like any extracurricular activities like elocution, storytelling, drama, music, or sports. In short, I was an average student. Baba never had time to look at my progress card. Perhaps he would have realized my capabilities long before. I also never expected a wonderful achievement from me. She was used to reading the usual remark, promoted to next standard, from my progress card. Since I was well aware of the fact that I did not have a flair for learning, she registered my name in Patuk Technical High School at Santa Cruz for 8th standard. Her view was that if I got technical education, I could become at least a turner, fitter, or an electrician. Had someone predicted to her at that time that one day her son would become an entrepreneur, we both would have laughed. Although I started my further education in Patuk High School, it never wrought a change in me. There too, I remained an average student. Our class teacher would always reprimand me for my bad handwriting. I would fear the teasing from fellow students and prefer to remain tongue-tied all the time. A teacher from that school would always address me as stone, unfazed by anything. Later, after many years, when she met me, I humbly touched her feet and a little jokingly introduced myself. Madam, have you recognized me? I am still a stone, but now turned into a bigger one. She smiled and with a pat on my back remarked, No, Dhananjay, you have turned into a gemstone. I got the first jolt of failure in my secondary school certificate SSC exam. I had secured minimum passing marks in other subjects. But my old enemy, mathematics, caught my wicket, not just for a single time, but for 4 consecutive attempts. I was so nervous with my progress that she would ask me with despondency, Dada, when will your Shakuntala Express reach its destination? Let me explain here that Shakuntala Express is a train from our Vidarbha region which runs from Yavatmal to Murtizapur on a narrow gauge track. The train travels so slowly that any passenger can catch it on foot. Since my progress in education was similarly slow, I would compare it to the Shakuntala Express. There was another reason for her concern. She herself did not have the opportunity to get education beyond 7th standard. Baba comparatively had a little higher education, that is, old SSC, today's HSC. That is why my parents would accept us to have an even better education than them. At last, in the 6th attempt, perhaps by the grace of God or the examiner, I could secure the exact minimum passing marks in mathematics and thus the tension came to an end. Baba jokingly replied, Dada, you have learned the mathematics thoroughly and at length. Good job. After SSC, I had decided to opt for Commerce faculty and subsequently took admission to St. John College, Dadar for 11th standard. I was a college student and started the next part of my journey with my energetic youth.